Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Marvellous Monday. Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are. If you think it's Get Rich Quick, you're in the wrong place. This is the wrong podcast. This is the wrong life for you. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hope you're all awesome and well.
There you go, team. Welcome along. Hope you're all well. That intro always gets me, almost saying Marvelous Mondays, but it's Wednesday. For those tuning in today, Wealth Coffee Chats. Listen, team, if you haven't seen me around before, you're not sure who's on your screen today, my name's Cass. I represent the property management team, and what we do on Wednesdays, if you don't already know, the regulars will know, but we come along and talk all things property management, holding property, keeping you safe. Talk through some stories, some case studies, some success a lot of the time. So good to see you guys here on another Wednesday. Kevin is here as always, mate. Good morning from me and good evening to you. Might have caught a few people out in the change daylight savings, so it's 8:10 my time, but you might be an hour ahead or so wherever you're tuning in from, which is catches us all off guard. I don't know why they just don't align it. It'd be nice and easy, wouldn't it? Morning, David. Morning, David. So what are we going to do today, team? What are we going to talk about? Well, I thought today we'd have a little bit of a chat around, what your tenant or what any tenant out there might want to see in your property, in your investment property, and then just have a bit of a conversation of not just what that might look like, but maybe how that might affect your rental return. For those that don't know, 13 years in the property management industry, over that period of time, you get to see various amounts of properties, right, in different locations. And whilst each marketplace might be slightly different, a lot of the foundations of property management and the things you need to know are very, very similar. Right. Of course, we've got some compliance and legislation differences, but for the most part, some of this stuff we're going to talk about today is quite similar. Because sometimes I've seen it, and I just did a little bit of a quick search this morning. I encourage you guys, jump on realestate.com a bit later today, maybe tonight when you get 5-10 minutes, and just punch in your suburb, right? Punch in your suburb of your investment property, and I guarantee you'll find, excuse me, some properties at the higher end, right? Excuse me, team, I better clear the throat. You'll find some properties there at market value, right? And you'll think, fantastic, that looks good, feels good, makes sense. And then you're going to find some properties there that are under market value. I was just looking today, a few suburbs around Brisbane, some popular house and land packages there around Park Ridge, Pallara, these sorts of suburbs. And certainly there's properties there for anywhere between $50 and $70 below what I would believe to be market value there. And when you have a look at how that property presents and what that property offers, one could argue that what we're going to talk about today might have an influence on that sort of stuff. So let's have a bit of a chat about that. So maybe you guys can help me kick this off in the chat, what your tenants want to see in your property, what you guys think. So if anyone's comfortable enough. Morning, Chris. Jeff, geez, no one's called me that, Jeff, for a long while. Morning to you, mate. But with that team, what do we think tenants want to see in rental properties? Punch it in the chat for me. Give me a couple of ideas. One of the things that I think they want to see is a well-maintained property, right? Now, we've got minimum standards across the country pretty much. So there's some legislation, things in compliance, things in place that, and I think it's a great thing that us as landlords, investors, we produce property and present property in a way that, meets these minimum standards, because no one should have to live in something that's not appropriate. Jeff says, Spa View Bar. Yes, I agree, Jeff. I agree. Maybe that should be minimum standards, eh? I'm sure there's a few of that out there. But, I thought we'd just run through a couple of these things today to give you guys a bit of some time to reflect potentially on maybe one of your properties. Maybe you're in a position right now where you're looking to purchase the next property, and maybe I can give you, 5-6 tips today to have a think about how that might, flow on to your next tenant. Right. So the first one, right, we want to have things well maintained. We certainly coach our investor clients in, ensuring your property is maintained. Now, that could be something that you do every year. That could be something you do every 3 years. We talk about a 7-year rejuvenation. So, when's the last time your property, had a fresh coat of paint, as an example? How does your flooring look, right? Is it banged up, scratched, and it's 15 years old? It's got no depreciation. It's just, it doesn't look good, doesn't feel good for the tenant. Maybe we need to look at something like that, right? Making sure things are clean, modern, reliable appliances, things like that. I think a lot of the time we take for granted that we sort of buy the property today and we forget what that maintenance looks like, or that, how we're going to actually upkeep these things for a period of, 5, 10, 15 plus years. So we're going to certainly look at that, team. What's the other two main things I always talk about, right? Security and comfort. People want to feel safe. People want to feel secure. I talk about, property management teams keeping you safe as the investor. But certainly you want to present that to the tenants as well. Margaret's jumping on. Morning to you, Margaret. Thanks for joining. And so safety team and security is really important. So what that looks like, I had an example over the past couple of weeks. Brand new property, some apartments. Now, in this particular scenario, the apartments didn't come with any security screens throughout. One of the owners has decided to do security screens. Now, just because we put security screens in doesn't mean we get better rents or higher rents. One would argue maybe that's not the case. However, what we did find is that, that property actually rented faster and reduce the vacancy on that particular thing. So something to think about. Alarm systems, well-lit entrances. If you've got an apartment in a building, do you know what that entrance looks like? Do you know what that security looks like, that intercom access? Do you, are the common areas, basement, those sorts of things, are they well lit, or are they quite dark? And making people feel unsafe, right? Because if people feel unsafe, team, they might not want to live there for a very long time. Comfort, you guys know this. Aircon, heating, you guys know this. Part of minimum stands. One thing, that's come up a lot. I've actually had a few companies reach out as well when we talk energy efficiency in your home. So, we obviously try to talk about, if you've got a house right now as an investment property, the question I would ask is, right, do you have solar panels on there, as an example? Right now, I know there's some costings involved there. There's obviously, I see it as an investment. There's some government rebates. There's a few things going on in here. But certainly from an energy efficient perspective, think about what that might mean for the tenant on the other end living there. There's obviously, big conversation right now around cost of living and things like that. And again, if you were to invest $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in solar panels, whatever it's going to cost, what would the return on that be? Does that mean you could, one, charge more rent, or two, does it just mean you're going to rent the property faster? Yep, Tim's jumping on and says he's got it on too. So, for Tim, he might find that his vacancy period is minimized. He might find if he's in a position where he has to relet the property, that prospective tenants will take his property over the next one next door, so to speak, because it offers that energy efficient strategy, if you like. And that's going to help bring the cost down for the tenants potentially, right? So you got to look at that, lighting throughout. What type of lighting do we have? Are they energy efficient installations, like is the install of the lighting in the home energy efficient? If it is, fantastic. Like, your property manager can promote that as a unique feature to the home to attract tenants faster, right? So some of the things we're talking about, team, doesn't necessarily mean we're always going to be able to get higher rents. What it does mean, though, is that the likelihood you're giving yourself every possible chance to get your home rented faster. And that, in a way, is a strategy to actually maximize your revenue if you're able to minimize your vacancy. There's other things there around, internet connectivity, of course, but, functional floor plans. Have a think about this. I was having a conversation with a client yesterday, and he said, hey, listen, I've got this apartment. I'm thinking about doing this, this, and this. Now, he's got a 2-bedroom with an MPR, potentially maybe thinking about losing the MPR, right? And making the kitchen a lot bigger, walk-in pantry, like butler's pantry, all that sort of stuff. Now, it's quite possible for that to happen. Of course, there's some tradespeople that got to be involved in that. But what would that create? Now, I guess from a perspective of creating an open floor plan, open floor plans certainly create a lot more connection, right? A lot more connection, not just the floor, not just the space, but for the occupants, right? Your floor plan has to create some sort of connection for those living there, and then also an element of entertaining. I think Australians love to entertain. We love to have people over. We love to have the cheese and wine or the barbecue on the Saturday arvo, Sunday arvo. And I think if your floor plan or your home promotes that sort of living lifestyle, you're certainly going to be able to attract a quality tenant in that space who is probably willing to pay a little bit more for that type of home versus how homes were designed 2 decades ago, where things might be a bit more closed off, right? So just think about these things. Like I say, maybe you can't change what's in your current investment, but maybe you're in a position where you're looking at that next one. So have a think about that. Storage is another one. Can you do more than what you've currently got? Sometimes we just overlook these things, how deep the cupboard spaces are. Can we put cupboard spaces above us? If you have a lack of storage in your investment property, if approved via strata, like, can you look at over bonnet storage cages, down in the basement? There's certainly an option here. Sometimes that is a really good investment. I've certainly had examples of where that has, promoted a faster leasing campaign than the rest. So there's some of the things, with there, Tim saying, yeah, you rewired one, replace. Yeah, perfect, Tim. That's fantastic. Doing these sorts of things, and it might seem like a cost, but I guess the language I want to use today is that this is an investment, guys. It's an investment property. The things you're putting back into it revolves around that 7-year rejuvenation conversation around paint and blinds and flooring and things like that. But also sometimes these little touches can actually, promoting safety, comfort, energy efficient. These sorts of things are really, really helpful. So why do we talk about this? Why is this important, team? Well, it's all about minimizing vacancy. And I think if you minimize vacancy, ultimately you're going to increase your revenue. That's number one. And, number two, essentially, your tenant is likely to stay longer in that space. Now, excuse the dogs in the background, team. I think someone's at the door. So if that's coming through the speakers, I apologize. But, team, I think if your tenant loves where they live, obviously they're there for a reason. They're there because of the location and the infrastructure and all the reasons why you bought the investment property in the first time. But certainly if you, from the internal space, can create an environment where they're feeling safe, they feel comfortable, everything's reliable and working in the property, then things are going to probably entice them to stay a little bit longer than have to move and go through that process and renting another property where it doesn't present any of these sort of features and benefits. So when it works, team. So look at it as an investment, take a different perspective on it, because it certainly, in my experience doing this 13 years, it certainly creates a faster leasing campaign and will maximize your revenue in the long term that way anyway. Tenant stays longer, less wear and tear, less reletting costs for you as an investor anyway. So win-win in my books. Hopefully you guys think the same. If not, let me know. Maybe you guys got a different perspective on it than I do. But, look, most of the property I know we work with ticks a lot of the boxes in this space. But, hey, maybe you've got a property that's 10, 15 plus years old. Maybe you're thinking about, hey, how can I increase my rental return? Then maybe these are a couple points here we can start to have a look at. So Margaret's jumped in. She's got place in internal paint, long-term tenants. Yeah, fantastic, Margaret. I mean, that might be a good thing to get a quote on and and start to have a look at these things. Keep the property fresh. If you're just maintaining it every couple of years versus don't touch it for 10 years, you'll actually find your investment probably less anyway, if you're just doing little touches along the way. So good point to make there. All right, team. Well, that's me done and dusted today. Nice and short and sharp there. Just a bit of a little reminder what's happening in the world of property management. Maybe some of the comments and feedback we get from prospective tenants. Of course, any questions, always pop them in the chat, team, and we certainly always encourage and promote you guys to send in your questions, send in your topics, challenges that you guys might be having in the property management world, because I'm sure there's a fair bit of that out there, and always here to lend a hand and ear if needed, team. So emails just coming across your screen down below if needed. Now, in the meantime, team, that's going to be me done and dusted for today. Don't forget tomorrow, 8:10, I think Wealth Coffee Chats will be back, of course, as always, and we'll do it all again. So team, thanks for participating. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for all the comments in the chat. Hope you guys have a lovely Wednesday, and we'll see you all tomorrow, 8:10 Queensland time. 8:10 Queensland time. Check your watches. All right. See you soon, team.
Episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6-Star team here at positivementor.com.au.